Hello, St. Mary's. So, a couple things on the agenda for today. First of all, it is a gorgeous day outside. I encourage you to go out and enjoy it. Get yourself a little vitamin D with the sunshine. I was going to go out, except I was in the gym this morning and my arms feel like jelly, and I'm simply not interested in holding my phone for 5 minutes. So there's that. Number two, I saw Dune Part 2 this weekend, and you can leave in the comments if you've seen it, and if you have ideas about it, I would love to hear them. It is a profoundly religious movie. That doesn't mean that I think it's a profoundly Christian one. We could talk about that perhaps at some other time, but I saw it and would love to chat about it. So shout out to Don Bariloa for the invitation to go up and see it with him. And number three. So there's this rule in preaching, and it's a really good rule, that you should rarely, if ever, make yourself the hero of the story. There's good reason for that. Like, we're trying to point to Jesus, not to the person doing the proclaiming. And I try really hard to do that. But this week I had a story that I wanted to tell you. And I wasn't comfortable telling it from the pulpit for just this reason. But I feel a little more comfortable telling it in this space. And so I'm going to ask you to kind of hold a little space for me as I tell you the story, because I want to tell you a story about a choice that changed my life. We talked yesterday about sometimes we have to make hard choices to follow Christ. And I remember one that changed my life forever, and I would argue is one of the pivot points that brought me to St. Mary's. I didn't know it at the time, but I believe it has brought me here because it set me on this journey. Group of guys in my dorm come to me one day and they say, "Hey, there's the Victoria's Secret fashion show is going to be on television in another night or two. We're going to get together and we're going to watch this thing." And so I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? All my friends are going to do it. And they're like inviting me to come. And I'm like, I just want no part of this. And so I called my pastor and I said, "Hey, here's what's going down. This is going to be going down in my room, and I just want no part of this. Can I come hang out for the evening?" And they said, "Absolutely." So I went over, had dinner. I don't even remember what we did, but we finished up. I knew the television program was over, and I went back, and everything was fine. Guys had a great time, whatever. But I stayed away from a situation that I knew wasn't any good for me. The reason that changed my life is not because I was morally superior. It's because from that moment on, I knew that there was a church family who would take care of me. That was the moment that I became really, really close to the people in that church, particularly the pastor and his family, and they made a difference in my life. And he's the one who saw gifts for ministry in me and sent me on a ministry path that brought me to your pulpit. I believe that with all my heart. We don't know which choices in our lives matter the most. I did not wake up as a sophomore in college going, "Today is this really critical day in my life. There's this really profound decision that I'm going to make that is going to change the course of my life." That's silly. But because we don't know, it means that our little decisions, the day-by-day decisions that we make, they actually really matter. Whether they are significant like that one was or not. And let's be honest, most of them aren't going to be that significant. Sometimes we will still stumble on significant ones that will change our lives. And even the ones that aren't, there is still this profound spiritual value in the consistency of small decisions made towards a spiritual end. It was Friedrich Nietzsche who famously said, I've quoted 1,000,000 times to you, I'll quote it 1,000,000 more. He says, what we need most as humans is a long obedience in the same direction. And what is that direction? For us as Christians, it is in the direction of Christ. And that long obedience is decision by decision by decision, day by day, that takes us closer to the person of Christ. That's what I learned in my dorm as a sophomore, as a freshman. And so, if we as a congregation, if we as believers here are serious about the way of Christ, again, we have to come back to these very basic decisions day by day. So for example, you want to spend more time with God. That's great. Are you carving out time in your actual calendar? You may have to move some things. You may have to get up earlier. You may have to say, I can't do this, so I can do that. Because you're going to actually have to spend time in prayer. You're going to actually have to make time for that small group that you keep wanting to jump into, but I don't have time for that. You're actually going to have to get up and you're actually going to have to be in church. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm trying to empower you with the decision that you're going to have to make. But those decisions might change your life. You want to see the church develop and grow. That's great. Well, you're going to have to build that spiritual foundation in you because the church is only as strong as the spiritual foundation of the people that are in it. You're going to have to volunteer in some places that don't feel like they really fit you. You're going to have to give towards a budget that will grow and is about impacting other people. You're going to have to make those decisions, but they could change your life. You want to watch your kids develop a powerful and deep spiritual foundation. Well, they're going to have to be in spaces with other like-minded children and some like-minded adults, and they're going to have to learn and they're going to have to work, which may mean that you have to say no to some other things. That's hard, but it could change your life. You want to say that you want to get to know the community and you want to be involved in the community and you want to have an impact on the lives of others. Well, you're going to have to actually be face to face with people, not just from a mile away, not just through social media, not just through, well wishes and checks that we send out. No, you're actually going to have to spend time with people, and those people may change your life. And so my question for you in this space, what choices are in front of you today? Pay attention to the amount of choices that you do have. When we pay attention, we discover how many choices we can actually make and how spiritual those choices are. Where to go, what we watch, how to spend time, how to spend money, all these things. And commit those decisions to God. You don't have to get them all right. I don't even know what that means. All that it means is discovering that every little decision we make has a powerful spiritual component to it. So commit it to God. Ask for God's wisdom and commit your way to Him. And slowly and surely, along obedience in the same direction, you will grow. And you will go farther. And you never know when you will hit that one decision that actually does change your life that you never saw coming. I know it's possible because it's my story. If it wasn't for that night, my life would be very, very different. And there's a decision coming for you, I believe it, where that decision might change your life in ways you couldn't expect. So don't freak out about it. Just raise your awareness of what God is doing. And how do we do that? We fix our eyes on Jesus. So I invite you into that work this week as we continue this journey of Lent. So if you've got a choice that you're thinking about and you want to commit that to just sharing it to somebody or asking for prayer, please leave that in the comments. If you have thoughts about Dune, leave that in the comments as well. Any questions, comments, just please hit like, please comment. That runs our numbers up. It helps these videos to become more visible to others. So we really appreciate your interaction in these spaces. But friends, be sure that I am praying for you today. Peace and good, y'all.